Dad, I can't stand this any longer. The lockdowns, the mandates are tearing my family apart. And I realised at that time, as a father, as a grandfather, I needed to do something. And so I started to get involved in the whole process of, I've never been to a rally in all my life before. And I'll probably get on the next slide, please. And then the mantra of the majors, voting all minors before the majors, started to take off around the nation as millions of people marched around the place. And as I followed this idea, I thought I better do some research. What does it mean for us as electorates, as voters, if we put all majors last and all minors up the top end of the ballot? And so I began to do some research on all of the electorates in Queensland, and I did an analysis of every electorate, and I got somebody from Brisbane involved with as well. So we've got 30, all the whole except Catters, except Bob's out here. We didn't worry about him because he's already in the fold. And it was amazing what we discovered in terms of what the percentage shift would need to be within each electorate in order to flip them in favour of a minor party candidate. I just want to flick up the local electorate here, if you would, please. Yes. So in Leichardt, for instance, your sitting incumbent scored 33,000 odd votes at the last election, and the ALP 25,000, and the minor party collective vote was 18,000, which is really, really good. But look at what happened at the end of the counting night. The LNP ended up with 48,000, the ALP 41,000. Where did those extra 15,000 votes come from? They came from the minor candidates and others. And so how do we, next slide please, how do we go about changing the outcome from that? What do we do to turn it around? How do we get a minor candidate on the dais, We will never do that unless we get one of you guys in the runoff second position. You will never win government from third position on the election. So how do we change the outcome? Well, there's two keys to the success, and this has to do with the majors and the minors, top and bottom. Success at the polls can only occur if we do two things, and do two things really, really well. First, to drive down the majors' vote. We have to do that. You've got to get that 33,000 vote down. And the more you can push that down, something's going to come up. What will that be? It will be the minor vote. And so one goes down, another one goes up, and we have a chance of winning. If we do not get that major vote down, you'll never have enough primary votes in your kit bag to win the race. Full stop, period. The second component to changing the circumstance is that we must contain the drift of preference votes. Okay? So if you look at the statistics, you find that people vote, but when they look at the spread, and it's all available online, you see that the votes spread out right across the board and end up in the bucket of the majors, okay? And at the end of the day, you end up with them up by another 15,000 votes. So, next slide, please. The research that we did, we found some really, really interesting things. The tipping points for Leichardt. Can you see that screen? I mean, you can read that. You probably can't very well from back where you're sitting there. But we have these spreadsheets, and they're online, and I can give you the link for those if you want it. But we researched the statistics, and then we looked at 20, 30, and 40 or 50%. If people decided to change their vote, what would that look like in terms of percentages? Okay, and so for the seat of Leichardt, for instance, you'll see that the votes you see on that green bar where it says 12,000 votes. That's theoretically all it takes for you to harvest the amount of votes in order to tip it in favour of a major. And at the bottom there, you see that it would sum up to 30,000 votes, all right? And then if you look at the arrow up to the other blue line, the 20% reduction in primary votes of the majors would give them 27,000, okay? And so that becomes the range or the area where you can see change begin to happen. It's not a lot of votes. It's not a lot of votes. And it's interesting when we did the research that Leichardt, Herbert, Dawson, Capricornia and Flynn are all in that lower range of votes. Between, I mean, Herbert is so ripe for switching. It's only about 4,000 votes. Dawson's a bit more, and so they're all in that 10 to 20% of the formal vote. The statistics indicate that there are probably another 16 electorates in Queensland where that tipping vote is around the 30% mark, okay? That's really, really exciting. It really, really is. And all it means is that we've got to get the message out and explain to people what it means to put the majors last and why that is so significant, because it drives down the primary vote. The primary vote goes up and ends up in the basket of the minor candidates. And from election night, you're in a prime position then to get the lead earlier on, so that the preference votes within, and you've got to try and keep them within the major parties, the minor parties. Yeah. Those preference flows then add up cumulatively, and one of you guys could end up being the new representative.
But Brian's right. No, it's right. Brian's right, because when I was putting up all the candidates, details and saying this is Dan and this is Sylvia and everything, I actually had to go into the electorate sites on the AEC, and I was actually interested to see that there was only like a 1.3% gap in some of those sites down near Brisbane that could actually turn the government. Yeah. And so that's really, unless you go looking for that information, because I went in there to make sure it was all accurate and everything, to be fair to everyone, it is really, really important, because we've got a lot of people on our site, the 27,000 on that Facebook group that are from Brisbane and places like that, and that are probably going to watch this on the Australian Independent Freedom Network and so forth, and they need to understand that you can make a huge difference here. You can.
Yeah. All right, no problem. I'll just finish up with a couple of things. The Majors Last website, I don't know whether you've seen that. It's a really, really good hands-on website where you can go on and you can type in your highs and lows, last and first, and it'll automatically extrapolate and give you a ballot paper. Really, really, really good science. All our stuff here is on the site of the One Voice campaign. And I was talking to Teresa last night, and she's uploaded a whole lot on the site. So every Queensland electorate is in there in that kind of format, okay? And you can, it's quite relatively simple to read if you can read Excel spreadsheets. Or you can also go onto my own video, my YouTube channel, and some of you have already seen a lot of my stuff that I've put up there. And I've tried to create PDFs, PowerPoint presentations that just explain in a little bit more detail what it means to vote the majors last and the minors on the top, and containing all the preferences, what it means, and then I've got some live video presentations as well, and I'm putting one up tomorrow on the theme of, it's an appeal to what I call the silent observers. Yes. The silent observers, and there are so many of them in Queensland. Did you know that the Greens vote in Leichardt, 30% of Greens voters in Leichardt chose to preference the LNP or minor parties before they preferenced the ALP? 30%. I went and did a survey and checked all the electorates. That same figure is true of the whole of Queensland. 30% of Greens voters actually choose to preference a minor or a conservative party before they vote for the ALP. What does that tell you? It tells you there's a huge percentage of people within Queensland who are in that zone of silent observer. I'm going to do a video and put it up tomorrow, hopefully, if I get it finished. I did one cut and it wasn't happy with it, so I'll do it again. So we've got 2 weeks to go. Let's get the message out, let's share it around, and let's get one of these guys elected.